program in the universal energies, and as you know, this program is designed for those who have the tools to find out for themselves. The matter is not about your beliefs or faiths, just the understanding that you can have a tool to research and find out yourself. And we ask lots of questions that people sometimes don't ask of spiritual people, religious people, people with deep faiths and deep beliefs. Only, and we do this in great respect, only to know that we can have that knowledge from them to go elsewhere and search for ourselves. Now this morning I have with me a medium and a president of the Cedars Church by the name of Kandi Munson.
How do you do?
Pleased to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Robert.
I've known Kandi for a little while, and so I know we're going to have a good programme. Not just that, but very informative about lots of things that will help you along your road. So first of all, we've said that, Kandi, you are the president of the spiritual church here, and it's the Cedars Church in Ipswich there. Just explain what that involves.
The Cedars Church is actually a spiritualist church, and we actually have functions where we actually invite mediums to give evidence that your loved ones have passed to the spirit world. We also have healing, and we do have other functions where people can come and have that connection with the spirit world themselves. It's actually a way of life. It's quite a special religion in a way, where we actually take all denominations rather than one specific one, so we're quite happy to have whoever would like to come to our doors. So we're quite open and friendly, and we're not so much dictated by rules and regulations, but we do have the 7 principles of spiritualism to follow. That gives us a guideline.
Right, okay, that's fair enough. You've just mentioned the 7 principles of spiritualism. Now, there's a lot of viewers who's going to think, well, what are these 7 principles, and how do they govern you being a spiritualist?
The 7 principles of spiritualism are the fatherhood and motherhood of God, the brotherhood of man, the communion of spirits and the ministry of angels, the continual existence of the human soul, personal responsibility, eternal progress open to every human soul and being, and a connection with Mother Earth is the part that we're actually quite interested in, or that's just part of our own belief really, that you actually respect nature in the way that it should be respected.
I understand that, and a lot of the viewers will understand, especially that last bit.
Yes, yeah.
Because we've had different denominations and faiths on here, and everything has gone back to a religious understanding of, and we called it paganism.
Yes, yeah.
But we did exactly what you've just said. And unfortunately we've been indoctrinated and controlled by a certain member of the church faculty, and all through our lives we've done this. There's a great book that mentions what they call the way. The way is what Jesus Christ taught, but he did not say nobody goes to the Father but by me. That is put in by the churches. So, and there we'll get comment on that from there. So you explaining about what you've just said, about they will know that.
Yes, I understand. Yeah.
So now we know that you are president of the church, but you're also a medium as well.
Yes, I've been a medium a long time.
I'm a bit extra large now. I was a medium.
Yes, I was a small. Now I'm a medium. I started as a child, probably 2 or 3. I had a link with spirit then. Luckily, my mother and family did sort of take on that understanding, so I was quite fortunate in that way, although I was asked not to speak to certain people at certain times in case, you know, that may upset them. I've continued sort of working in a spiritual way and will continue to keep learning as you do along the whole of your life. and I've trained in London, and then I came to the Cedars and started from there as well, and carried on with healing and mediumship. I've been taught by quite a few wonderful mediums that have passed on to the spirit world now, but it's a continual movement and a continual way of life, so to me it's quite natural. So I hope that sort of explains it in fraction.
You used to sit in my circle.
And I used to sit in your circle.
Yes.
Many moons, and it's many moons. Yeah.
Yeah. All roads lead to the
yes.
same. Yeah. As my friend, the hope is, you say that we are all as one.
Yeah, we are, which is lovely.
Makita Awasha, we are all as one. We are all related, yeah. And people look at that, they say we're all related, they're talking about humans, but it's not, it's everybody.
No.
It's animal, vegetable, mineral, the trees, the plants, the minerals, the seas, the sky, Father Sky, Mother Earth. We are all related. Yeah, okay. So, is there any conflict between you being a medium and being president of the church, do you think, or not?
No, I don't think there is.
No, okay. So, being a medium, where do you do your mediumistic traits, if you like?
Well, I do more than one type of action, really. I do serve churches, a few churches. I don't do too many. Because of the time restraints that I have with the job that I do. Do fairs, and I actually serve centres which will actually help pass on the spiritual way of life and how we are and how we live. So I work with the mediumship side itself, automatically direct link to the spirit world, but I also do use angel cards when I actually do readings at certain fairs and centres, so it makes the actual person that's having the reading, it gives them a visual look at what we're actually doing. It gives them a bit of relaxation, and it doesn't make them feel so worried or concerned.
No,
so
I know viewers because Kandi comes to my centre, or our centre, I'll say our centre, and people really like the way she gives them reading. It's not just about talking to the people who have left this planet and gone to the world of spirit, or in other dimensions if you prefer like that, or the universe, but it's the way you put things over to help people in this everyday life. So, now we've got through that here, how did you get started on this road, shall we say?
Well, I've just continued on it. I started, as I said earlier, at a very young age. I went to London. There used to be a church in Upper Addison Square, which I used to go to, called the Gateway, which is closed now, unfortunately, but I started there when I was about 15, 16, started going to workshops, and I was sort of trained in all sorts of different ways, how to become a medium and how to link with that sort of side of life, and met some very wonderful people, Dorothy Abrahams. Really, I've been very, very fortunate with the path that I've had, but it's always been that way, so I've always sort of been guided in a way to actually work in that sort of spiritual way. So to me it's very natural, and I try to sort of help and let people understand that it is a natural way, rather than it's being scary or frightening. We actually have this sort of connection with the universe itself, and we are taught that you work with light and love, and that's quite an important factor for me to actually work in that way.
I think light and love is, love is a universal, that's what we're here for, and that's what transcends us to the world of spirit, and that's what we try to do to get on with everybody in this, no matter what the creed, colour, denomination, gender, whatever it happens to be. It's a case that when we all sit down together, that's where centres come in.
Yes.
And excuse me, and I do understand that, and I know exactly where you're coming from. So, having said that, and I know how you work, I've seen you work on many occasions, not just at my centre, but in other places as well. I've almost followed you. What did you say? I'm not a stalker, don't worry. I've followed you in your path, and not being close physically, but knowing that what you're doing. And then and I remember coming around your house and doing lots of things. It doesn't sound very good, but
no,
you know exactly
we
what I
had
mean.
little fairs in the garden for charity, so we could sort of fundraise.
Yeah, but I remember coming around your house one New Year's Eve.
Oh, did we?
And we came round there and we had a spiritualist meeting.
Yes.
Oh, we had a meeting around there, and we just chewed the cud, if you like. We talked over about how we felt, and that's the way forward from you. And that's really, I can see it from little acorns, great big tall oaks have grown.
Well, I'm quite shy actually, so.
Unfortunately, as we get a bit older, these tall oaks, the branches tend to fall off.
I know.
But that's life, and that's the way it is.
I mean, when we do have our meetings and things, we don't tend to have a mixture of alcohol, and when we work with spirit, I have quite a strong policy that I don't mix the two.
No.
So it isn't a mix with alcohol and things, but we do have lots of different. We've had lots of different evenings, and it's nice to sit and talk and express how you feel in that way. And there aren't many places that you can actually go to where you can sit and discuss things, and it's nice to be able to give them a chance to meet like-minded people.
There's so much to learn.
Promote, really.
I mean, I always say to people on this channel, and when I'm working, as you know, I'm a bit of a radical, and I will say what it is, but at the end of the day, I am a great believer that you give people tools to research and to find out themselves.
Yes, very important.
I mean, I've had it said to me over the years, and especially when I've started this programme up, the comments will be, well, how do you know? You can pluck anything from the air. And if you don't know, that's what it seems like. And that's, I like people to speak the truth like that, and that's the way it should be, you know. And I've always been a bit with you like that, because your truth and honesty is the same as I'm truth and honesty, and I like that sort of thing. We've all heard certain things that have been said that we've cringed at for people, but we're all different. Everybody's different.
Well, each medium works in their own way.
That's right,
and
exactly.
you have to be true to your own self and your own heart.
Exactly.
And that's how you have to work. There are guidelines, but each person's an individual, and each person has their own character and personality, and they have to live by that, and that's important.
It is, very much so. So otherwise there'd be sheer anarchy on this earth if everybody did everything they wanted to do.
Oh, it would be a very, very boring world if we all did the same.
Right, now, okay. So we've discussed how you began, what you did, and everything else. Is there anything you want to add on that before we move on?
We actually do sort of meet once a month at the moment in a community centre. We've just changed our function meeting place. That's in Limerick Road. It's called the Meeting Place Community Centre in Limerick Road in Ipswich. It's off Norwich Road, and we have functions once a month. We have a new website which has just gone live, which is www.thecedarsspiritualists.co.uk. But if you just put the Cedars Church in, it will automatically come up on the web page. We will be having a Facebook page in the future. We're having a reading evening in July, and we're going to be having a function with TJ Higgs in the autumn. So
don't worry.
So the little beep then.
Yeah,
and
builders in.
You know, so we have, and we also do promote healing as well, which is quite important to us to actually help people in that particular way. So at this moment in time, we're actually functioning from this community centre,
right? Okay.
Which actually does quite a lot of work for the community itself in that area. They have a lot of help that they give people with learning difficulties, which we think is really important.
Yeah, that's good.
So that's really
good.
lovely.
Very close to my heart.
So we're working, or I've worked with learning difficulties in the past voluntarily, so it really does make a difference to help people in our way of life who are sort of, you know, in a different way to us. So it's quite lovely to do that.
I mean, the people that give us so much lessons, and not as though that I believe that you come down here to learn a lesson, but the lessons in life that people give you physically who are maybe not quite impaired as us are great.
Yeah.
And we learn so much from them. Yes, I do understand that.
So we're sort of working in that environment where, you know, we can actually help people in need, and that's important, you know, for us to continue to do that.
I think that perhaps that we misunderstand what we're here for, really, because we're given something, whatever it happens to be, to help somebody else along the way. And if we hold it all to ourselves, no matter what it is, it's a case of we don't allow other people to progress because of the situation. So whatever it is, yeah, okay. All what Kandi has just said will be on the credits afterwards, so you'll find out about the website and where the premises are, the address of the premises, what's going on within the spiritual church that Kandi will say, and they'll all go on the back on the credits. So unless you can't, if you stumble and you can't find it, and I'm sure you will, then you've always got my email, and I pass on that messages to Kandi here. Okay. You mentioned about fairs, and we spoke briefly about you've got some sort of reading days that are coming up here.
Yes.
What does that involve?
The reading evening that we've actually have in July is going to have mediums that actually give readings to people that actually want to have that connection to their loved ones in the spirit world. We're going to have a few stalls, and we're going to have some healing as well, where people can come and receive healing, and there's going to be like crystal and jewellery stalls and things like that. So it's just a small evening, not as large as yours, but just to invite sort of people in, just to take that footstep into sort of our way of being, really.
Which is good.
Yes,
yeah,
it's
it's
quite
good.
lovely.
Yeah, good. And we'll talk afterwards, but then you're welcome to come along and have some kind of promotion for the church along our events. Just come along and we have a table and you put on whatever you want.
Yes.
Be done there.
Yes, it's free entry. You don't pay to get in. You actually just pay for the actual reading itself.
No, well,
and that actually helps with the cover of the actual hall that we have to charge for.
Well, as you're a church, a centre, you just come along and just if you have your own tables to make life easier. But if not, we'll do that and do that.
Yes, that's fine.
And I'll tell you all about the things that are going on. Well, you were at the centre last time, so you know about this.
Yes,
stuff.
yeah.
But within a little, and I'll be glad to do that here. Okay.
Thank you.
So, what are your plans for the future then?
We did previously have a building in Anglesey Road, which is closed. The trustees and the committee came to a decision to close it because we were spending too much time focusing on the building and not what our church was about. So we decided that it would be better to actually focus fully on the church and rather than focus on the actual building itself. So we've sold that building, and we're actually at the moment looking for a sort of single-storey building in the sort of Ipswich area, really. We haven't found anything that's suitable for our needs, but I'm sure we will do.
I'm sure. And we just throw it up and let things happen.
Yes.
And get out of the way in case it comes down.
But we have sort of stipulated the things that we're actually looking for. We do still continue to have our committee meetings every 6 weeks. You know, we do still try and continue to run the church, but it's actually not in such a fixed way as it was before, because we only have functions once a month now, whereas we have functions every week. So, but when we actually do reopen, we will have development groups, yoga, all sorts of the functions that we actually had before, but we'll actually try and put a lot more of different people into the actual church itself. So we have different areas of all of our community as a whole, really, rather than just we might have music and singing, and we did have a wonderful gong gentleman that used to come and do sound healing and things.
Was that Andy?
Yes, so we've had all sorts of different functions, really, and we've been very lucky. So we'll continue in the way that we were running before, but in a more sort of fluid and relaxed way.
I do remember over many years doing workshops and from all kinds of things over there. I even remember we did a laughter workshop.
Yes, we did, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that was in yoga laughter. But that was a long while ago. But every string gives people understanding and tools to find out for themselves.
Does, yeah.
And that's what I think we're all about here. You know, I feel it's a bit sad sometimes when there is too much control and too much dictation that is there. And I have to say, I would like to get to a point whereby the churches no longer exist in all sense.
I think the word church, in a way, although we have been running since 1926, brings an idea that you're actually a religion like the Catholic, and you actually are told how you should live, and we don't work in that way. Each person has got their own purpose in life, and we just let that person evolve in that way, whereas some religions don't do that. So I think church sometimes doesn't actually help, because some people actually had religion forced upon them when they were children, and they try and avoid that word church. So sometimes that doesn't actually help.
Yeah, I think that.
But you know, we try and do the best that we can in our way, and to help people in a relaxed and fun way, and we do laugh quite a lot.
Yeah.
We do have a bit of a laughter in our church. And I am classed as a giggler.
There's a great quote that says that when you leave spirit, you're not going to be a saint overnight. No. When you leave this earth, sorry, you're not going to be.
No, I don't think so.
And let's face it, logically and rationally, if you want to, if people came back as being holier than thou, and they weren't on this earth, nobody would recognise them.
No, they wouldn't. They have to come back as their own
They
person.
come back as themselves, the way they are, until whatever. That's a whole different workshop anyway.
Yes, it is,
we're talking about there. But let me just ask you, as time's running close here, let me just ask you, do you think that religious and spiritual are the same? I know I'm putting you on the spot.
No, I don't. I mean, religion is a faith, and being a spiritual being is a faith, but it's a belief in something good. Like I'm not 100% sure whether I could actually speak about religion as a religion. We are classed as a religion, but we're a sort of more relaxed religion.
I think that I always ask this question in a roundabout way for people, only because the more comments you get, the more tools people have to make up their own mind.
Well, you can be a spiritual person and not actually go to church.
I agree. Most people will agree with that.
Yeah, you don't have to go to church, and you can have your faith can actually be a link with nature, or a link with the sea, or a link with the trees. It's still a faith and a belief.
I was talking to an Anglican priest the other day. He's not a priest, I call him a priest, but he's a vicar. You know, the same difference, and all of this. And I was saying to him that believing in the Bible, how come if we believe religiously in the Bible, it's been changed so often and adapted for the modern life? And his comments were that the trouble with the Bible is, whether you believe or not, it's a case of people take it too literal.
Yes, yeah.
And when it's taken literal, and my next question was, well, if it's not taken literal, why do you believe in it then? And we sort of twisted ourselves in knots as we went along.
Yes.
But having said that, then I go back to the same thing again. It's a discussion that gives people tools to find out what they want themselves.
Yes.
I think there's so much being said about whether it happens to be Buddhism or Hinduism or Judaism, whatever it happens to be. There's so much dictation that is there, that almost like rules and regulations, if you like, and people aren't given access to find out for themselves.
No, we do sort of try and sort of give people some guidance, and we sort of steer them in the way of books and information, But everybody has to find their own pathway.
Well, exactly.
We don't
That's
force
what
that on anybody.
No, that's what the tools
our
are.
duty.
No.
You know, we're there to help people in need, which we do. But if they're actually searching, we give them some ideas of where to look, and then they decide and move forward on their own way. We're there to support them and help them, and be there for them. But we can't do it for everybody.
I have to say, Kandi, that your words ring truer than a lot of people who have been sat in that chair there, or this chair, whatever it happens to be, who have been profoundly spiritualist people that are not the same. And I have to say that because I can say it on air because it's been recorded.
Yes,
it's gone out there and people know. Yeah. And that's probably why I don't get booked quite so often these days. But I'm not bothered about that. I was just being flippant.
I think you are invited to wherever you're needed at that moment. Actually, you know, you've actually taken on your own centre now, which is lovely. But you know, I think it's nice to just be part of, and it's like a big family, really. When I was involved with the Cedars, and Dorothy asked me to take over from her just before she passed on, you know, we always classed as a family. So we're like a family church. We sort of take people as family rather than as a congregation, even though they are a congregation. It's you know, so they feel like they've actually come somewhere, or they've come home, really. So that's how we actually work in that way.
I do feel that it's an attribute that we have, that whatever happens in life, we don't. Grief is a terrible thing, whichever way it is. But we know the inevitable thing is that we come from spirit, we'll pass to spirit again, and we'll just have to get on this roadway in life and help somebody else.
Yes, and you quite often find that people actually come into the spiritual movement because they've actually lost someone who's actually passed to spirit, or they've actually had a terminal illness, or an illness has actually changed their life. So there can be all sorts of different reasons why people actually come.
I've just been reminded before we go of something whereby I was talking about the priest, the Anglican priest and that, and I was rapping him in the corner about the Bible, and he said, "You're fine on the talk, you speak to the dead." and I do understand that, because that's the first line of call that is the conflict between the religion and spiritual.
Yes.
And I do understand that, because unfortunately it does say in this book that was governed by, beware of harlots and charlatans and people who speak to the dead.
But I think Jesus himself would be a very, very lovely being, and he's always trying to promote the good in people.
He is. He was very much a spiritual person.
And I think that's important. And
but very much not a religious person.
But I don't feel he was. He did come from a cult. He had a cult that he came from called the Essenes.
He did, yeah.
So he was involved with that, but I think he did it in a very natural way, and just he spoke to people in an ordinary way, and that's what we're sort of about in a way.
Well, we can see over the years how things have been taken, and right from the beginning, when he went into the temple of Isis, and he was talking there, and he was talking about a moon from Isis, who was a great god in there. And things have been adapted all the way. And we can see that. It's another workshop altogether, eh?
I think the thing is, what happens is it's been changed in translation. Things get lost in translation. It's been translated from one...
I have to disagree there, but
language to another.
At the end of the day, it's been
but it may
suppressed.
Be for their own benefit.
It's been suppressed because of one church took over. We needed it. Hence the Pope came along. This is before. Anyway, having said that, it has been a real pleasure talking to you today.
It's been lovely coming.
Now I'm going to wine and dine you. You might get one chip in a roll.
Can't chips.
But no, plenty. But having said that, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and thanks for everything. And good luck with everybody's spiritual pathways.